I want to welcome you to the Ask Jeff YouTube channel. Here's today's question. I've always struggled with the assurance of my salvation, not because of belief, but more because of doctrine. Some people adamantly say you have to admit, believe, confess. Others say that discipleship and salvation are one and the same, which doesn't make sense because salvation is free, discipleship is costly. I just don't want to get it wrong because eternity is too long to be wrong. Well, you're absolutely correct. So, again, allow me to use the illustration that Jesus Christ used in John chapter 3 with Nicodemus. Now, remember who Nicodemus was. He was not just a mature man physically, but he's called a master of Israel. He's a theologian. He's a leader. He's a mover. He's a shaker. He has a private audience with Jesus, and Jesus tells him, you must be born again. Now, the reason that illustration is important is because Jesus told him that twice. And unfortunately, Nicodemus couldn't grasp it there in chapter 3. This may spawn a different question. I thought he got a hold of it by the time you get to John chapter 19. Nonetheless, here's my point. That each and every one of us that are watching or listening to this, there was a time period where we were born, right? But now we're learning how to live the life of somebody who has been born. In our early days, we learn how to eat, we learn how to dress ourselves, we learn how to speak, but then we start maturing and we go through some difficult times, particularly as a teenager in puberty, where we learn how to navigate relationships. And why do I bring this up? Because it's kind of like salvation, being born again. Discipleship is maturation. You're going to mess up, you're going to make mistakes, and just because you're a young person or an adult who makes a horrible mistake in their life, you don't cease to be human, do you? No. You no longer are born. No. You're just a human who is in bad shape that needs to get it right. I think the same thing can be applied to the assurance of our salvation. Once we get saved, we're saved. Now we work it out with discipleship, or what the Bible calls sanctification. Even the Apostle Paul. I mean, if we're going to put anybody on a sliding scale, he has to be at the top. In Romans chapter 7, now think about this. He's been saved for years. He's been preaching for years. And he makes the statement, the things I want to do, I don't do. The things I don't want to do, I do. What was the Apostle Paul saying? He's basically saying is, I'm growing up in my faith and I'm making mistakes. But I'm still a child of God. Because in Romans 8:1, it says, therefore, there is now no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus. Meaning, just because we mess up, doesn't mean we're no longer saved. It just means that we need to work out that relationship with the Lord. It's been simply said by others, there's a difference between your relationship and your fellowship. Great question. If you have one, send it to AskJeff.net. Maybe your question will be tomorrow's. Thanks for being a part of today's daily question. Now, we answer a question each and every day. Please feel free to submit a new question at AskJeff.net. We may not have gotten to yours today, but we eventually will continue to be a part of this. Subscribe so you don't miss out on a question every day.